It's Tuesday, November 4th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. Money for military, housing, and infrastructure in a budget with a blockbuster deficit. Early morning bomb threats empty schools across Fredericton.
Brisk and blustery tomorrow with the next round of rain arriving for the region Thursday.
Live from our Maritimers News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. Prime Minister Mark Carney promised his first federal budget would be memorable. It is that, with generational spending to pivot the economy. There are billions of dollars for the military, housing, and industrial projects. It all comes with a new record deficit. We begin our coverage tonight with CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver on Parliament Hill.
Nearly 7 months after getting elected, the Carney government has dropped its first budget, a 406-page book it promises will build Canada strong. Over the next 5 years, Ottawa intends to spend $141 billion in new measures that they project will bring in $51.2 billion in savings. Together, those measures will take Canada's deficit to $78.3 billion this year, dropping to $56.6 billion by 2029-2030.
It's well within the range that people had expected, and people also understand that 75% of what we recorded this year, you would have seen that at the very beginning, was to, defend our sovereignty.
One of the biggest expenditures, defense, with $81.8 billion in spending over 5 years. There's $20.4 billion for the military's recruitment and retention problems, $10.9 billion for upgrades, and $17.9 billion to expand new military capabilities, including procuring new armored vehicles.
It's a real big injection of money, but really interestingly, they don't provide any annual investment or expenditure total. There's no articulation of where year by year that would take us as a share of GDP.
There's also $51 billion over 10 years for a new Build Community Strong Fund to help fund new infrastructure projects, $1.7 billion for an international talent attraction strategy, and $13 billion over 5 years starting in 2025-2026 for Build Canada Homes. That includes $2.8 billion for Indigenous housing. One way Ottawa is bringing down the deficit through changes to the public service. Ottawa wants to shed 28,000 public sector jobs within the next 3 years through cuts, attrition, and a move to incentivize voluntary leave and early retirement. How much that alone will save and where the cuts are coming from is unclear. Ottawa is also hoping to save $60 billion over 5 years through modernization and government efficiencies.
Canada's new government is spending less on government operations. Canadians understand that. You need to put the house in order.
But aside from a promise to review bank fees and to automatically file taxes for lower-income Canadians, experts say there's little that will help with affordability.
If you're the average Canadian, you're looking at this budget, you're going to say, well, it doesn't change my life very much. I'm concerned about affordability, I'm concerned about housing costs, and lots of concerns. It doesn't really address any of those things specifically.
Instead, many economists say the budget's aim is to create a better environment for business through measures like a so-called productivity super deduction. The budget also sets the stage for the elimination of the oil and gas emissions cap, a move the industry and the provincial government in Alberta have been calling for as a way to encourage more investment in the sector.
This is a budget that focuses on capital investment because of the context that we are in right now. The economy is quite weak and is under attack because of the tariff issues, and we have a significant uncertainty in the Canadian economy, so businesses are not investing.
For the first time, the budget has been separated into capital investment and operational spending. By 2028-2029, this document anticipates that the operational budget will have a surplus of $1.7 billion. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
All right, so there is a lot in that budget. A few items in particular will impact Maritimers especially. CTV's Vanessa Wright has been drilling down on the budget numbers. There are many. She joins us in the news center. Vanessa, you've identified a couple of areas of interest here.
Yeah, that's right, Todd. As we break this all down, there is spending that may pique the interest for people in our region. One that stuck out, though, and we all knew it would be in this, is the dramatic jump in military spending. Prime Minister Mark Carney is making good on that promise that it would meet its GDP spending commitment to NATO. Well, now Ottawa says $20.4 billion will be spent on military recruitment and retention. Just under $11 billion will go to upgrades and $18 billion to expand new military capabilities. That works out to a total of $185 billion over 5 years. There is, of course, a huge military presence on the East Coast. Submarines are a big buy for this government. It's planning to buy a new fleet from either South Korea or Germany, but the question remains, could parts or all of the vessels be built here? Another significant item, and again, one we were told to expect, is a new national housing plan. The federal government says $25 billion will be spent over 5 years on what they call supercharged home building. With 2 of the fastest growing cities in the country in our region, this will be of particular interest to Moncton and Halifax, where homes can't be built fast enough. Now, I just got off the phone with the president of the Construction Association of Nova Scotia. He says there's a lot to go through. Building projects are mentioned, but from what he's heard so far, he calls it vague. It wasn't just the funding he was looking for, but he wanted less government red tape that slows construction and costs money. Finally, there is no surprise. This comes with a big price tag, and it's creating a massive deficit for all Maritimers, and that all Maritimers share a chunk of. Ottawa expects $78.3 billion deficit in the coming year, and there were some cuts. There will be 28,000 fewer government jobs. Of course, many are based in our region. But one thing you won't find that something that will help Canadians' cost of living concerns. There's nothing that addresses the rising grocery prices, for example. And I spoke with a Halifax food bank whose manager told me they didn't have much hope for people who rely on them day to day. Now, we knew this budget would be unprecedented, and it certainly is in terms of spending and the deficit it puts on the government and all Canadians. We'll certainly be hearing plenty of reaction in the coming days and hours. Todd? We
certainly will. We're going to get a little more of that right now. Vanessa Wright, thank you, here in the newsroom with us. Let's go now to Sylvain Charlebois, the Dalhousie Agri-Food Lab head of that department. There he is. He's in Toronto tonight. Sylvain, I realize there hasn't been a lot of time here to digest this, but did you see anything in the budget that might impact the grocery aisle?
Not directly, but indirectly, I think there are some good items in the budget. First of all, there is this automatic tax filing that is actually going to help more than 5 million people. Food affordability is not just about food prices. It's also about the amount of money you have in your pockets. Yeah. And that certainly is a measure that is going to help. The other issue that hasn't been talked about is that Ottawa is going to go after banks. We all have bank accounts and we pay a lot of fees. And in the budget, there are measures to actually try to get banks to reduce banking fees. Again, more money in people's pockets. But the biggest item, I think, is not overly sexy for all of us, Todd. It's about infrastructure investments. We're talking $115 billion of infrastructure investment. And if there is something that we need in the Atlantic region, it's better infrastructure so we can get food in and out as quickly as possible to reduce costs.
I was going to ask you about that because you've been talking about this for quite some time. Would there be anything in here that producers tonight or growers who might be watching this and say, okay, there's something there for me, I think this might work?
Well, there's an enhanced agri-stability program. We're talking about $600 million. Obviously, that is going to help, especially for farmers that do go through some hard times because of, well, climate change, of course. So there's that. In terms of growing businesses or growing new markets outside of the United States, we're talking, I think the amounts are anywhere between $30 to $40 million, which is not a whole lot. And when we're talking about agriculture, it's a multi-billion-dollar sector. It's not a whole lot, but Todd, when I looked at the budget, it feels to me that the budget was much more aspirational. It wasn't really about winning the next election, which I think is something we all need right now.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. We'll be talking to you again, no doubt. We saw you on the 5 o'clock show talking about the increasing prices of chicken. So there's something else that we're... And beef doesn't show any signs of moving down either.
Nope.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, Sylvain, thanks for joining us from Toronto tonight. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
We want to hear from you now in tonight's CTV web poll. We're asking this question: how will the federal budget impact your personal finances? And your options are: it will have a positive impact, it will have a negative impact, or it won't have any impact. Perhaps you think it's too soon to say. We'd like to hear from you at our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Now, the budget is designed to protect Canada from tariffs and trade conflict. There's more for impacted industries like forestry. Provinces that export softwood lumber have agreed on an approach to encourage a deal with the U.S. CTV's Laura Brown has reaction from Fredericton.
A working group has been launched between British Columbia and Ottawa to support the forestry industry. New Brunswick MP and Minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade, Dominic LeBlanc, was at the announcement.
Obviously, softwood lumber continues to be something that we had been raising with the Americans. We're not going to wait because the hour is grave. The moment is serious for us to continue to work together.
But New Brunswick was not invited to play a part.
That was a provincial initiative on behalf of British Columbia. New Brunswick has been advocating for support on softwood lumber and engaging with our industry to talk about what they need specifically and pushing the federal government to provide solutions that meet our needs here in New Brunswick.
Forestry employs over 24,000 people in New Brunswick. 3 weeks ago today, the U.S. placed another 10% tariff on the existing 35%. Holt has said job losses are looming, but told reporters Ottawa has promised more supports are coming, potentially in Mark Carney's first budget.
We're pushing for other kinds of supports, so something I'm going to be looking for tonight.
The industry says the impact is starting to be felt. Some U.S. mills are no longer buying.
There's a lot of mills that have bought wood traditionally from western New Brunswick in the form of roundwood that are no longer even accepting wood.
He's very well aware that the most forest-dependent province in Canada is New Brunswick.
Natural Resources Minister John Herron says New Brunswick is certainly being included in the conversation with Ottawa to try and find a solution. Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
And after 6:30, we'll look deeper into the budget and how it might affect our region. Plus, we have extensive reporting on the government's spending document at our website, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Well, to other news of the day, the school day ended before it even began for many students and teachers in Fredericton. Several schools were abruptly closed by bomb threats. As CTV's Nick Moore reports, a suspect has been arrested.
Fredericton police were stationed outside Fredericton High this morning, one of 5 schools in the capital city that were closed today because of a threat.
One that certainly captured our attention and required a response. It happened about 7 o'clock this morning. That's when it was brought to my attention.
David Victimini is superintendent of Anglophone School District West. Outside of Fredericton, Assiniboine Avenue Elementary School in Oromocto and Arnold H. McLeod School in Moncton were also closed because of the same threat.
And it made reference to bombs surrounding the school on site. Following the assessment of the threat, a determination was made that nobody would enter the schools that were named within the threat.
Students who were on their way to schools that were closed or already in the building were directed to alternate locations for pickup or holding. By the noon hour, the all clear had been given that there was no risk. By mid-afternoon, Fredericton police said it had arrested a youth in connection to the threat. No charge has been announced. Education Minister Claire Johnson says parents of students at the affected schools were kept informed throughout the morning.
From what I'm hearing, that it went relatively well considering the potential for miscommunication and this and that.
The schools that were closed this morning remained closed for the rest of the day. They will reopen tomorrow. Nick Moore, CTV News, Fredericton.
People in eastern Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island spent today hunkering down against some pretty messy weather marked by heavy winds and a lot of rain. CTV's Ryan McDonald reports.
It was a wet start to the day in Sydney and surrounding communities, with upwards of 60 millimetres falling today in the Sydney area. City crews were out trying to give all of that water a place to go.
Catch basins are they're about as full and clogged as they can get at this time of year because of all the fallen leaves.
Water buildup on the roads and hydroplaning conditions on the highway made travel a bit treacherous. Emergency crews responded to this crash on Highway 125 near the Sydney River exit shortly after 12 noon. But the Cape Breton Regional Municipality says in the bigger picture, all of this rain is actually welcome.
We've been experiencing drought conditions that we've never seen, and having rain like this is a very good help to it, but it's not everything, and it takes a lot. And I mean, several days of rain like this, or over the course of a month, many days of rain to kind of mitigate some of the damage that's been done from the drought.
The winds are certainly going to be picking up throughout today. We're going to see winds approaching 100 kilometers an hour.
Today's weather caused the cancellations of today's ferry crossings between North Sydney and Newfoundland, and they expect even more disruptions later this week.
We're seeing a short window of reprieve tomorrow evening where we probably will get a couple of sailings in, but then we see another system come in on Thursday, which will impact crossings on Thursday and Friday.
Not too long ago, this low-lying area along Cabot Street in Sydney might have seen some localized flooding on a day like this, but some flood mitigation work was done in recent years, and today there really isn't too much water buildup.
Our fingers are crossed right now that the groundwater level will rise a little bit and get us through winter.
A week and a half ago, we visited Clayton Osmond. He's been living with a dry well for some time. Today, he says all of this rain didn't make as much of a difference as you might think, and he'll need more of it before winter.
Earlier projections I heard were 150 millimeters before winter came in the ground freeze, so this will get us close.
Today's rain tapered off in the afternoon, but it's expected to give way to winds of over 90 kilometers an hour tonight in parts of Cape Breton. Ryan McDonald, CTV News, Sydney.
There's a live look at Lunenburg right now where it is significantly quieter, let's say that. At 6:15, let's bring in Kaylin Mitchell. We were joking when Ryan's piece was airing that you would not want to be on the Cabot Strait today.
No.
It's probably a good thing those ferries were, crossings were canceled.
Yeah, that's right, because this storm really intensified as it moved past the eastern shore of Nova Scotia. And you can see the pressure gradient in behind me. It's represented by these white lines, and they kind of spread out from the center of the storm, which right now is just coming in towards the Burin Peninsula in Newfoundland. You can see how they're kind of clustered a little bit tighter together right through the Cabot Strait. So those winds funneling through there at very high speeds. And in fact, parts of the south coast of Newfoundland have reported some wind gusts in excess of 100 kilometers per hour. Now, we're on the back side of the storm system here in the Maritimes. There is still some rain coming down in Cape Breton, but the bulk of it has already fallen. So in most cases, it's maybe another few to several millimeters for that part of Nova Scotia. And there's also a scattering of some showers through other parts of the region that'll be coming to an end as we move through this evening and tonight. The winds, though, they are still gusty. They're going to be gusty tonight. There's still wind warnings in effect for Kings County, Inverness, and Victoria counties in Cape Breton. There, some northwest gusts could still peak near 90 kilometers per hour. And then a special weather statement that extends across the remainder of Prince Edward Island for the north shore of Nova Scotia, as well as for Sydney and Cape Breton County, saying that some of the peak wind gusts could come up between 70 and 90. Much of the rest of the Maritimes, wind gusts 40 to 60 kilometers per hour, except coastal areas of the southwest of Nova Scotia, where some of the peak winds will be up between 60 and 80 kilometers per hour. Now, I'm expecting to see some partial clearing as we move through tonight, especially around western and southern areas of New Brunswick and parts of the west of Nova Scotia. And this is a little bit of good news, because if those areas do see some clearing and you're willing to go outside into the chilly temperatures and somewhat gusty wind conditions, you can spot what is going to be a near full moon in the night sky. It's near 99% illuminated. It's also a super moon, and you can look for it rising above the southeastern horizon tonight. The planet Jupiter will be above the eastern horizon by around midnight, and Saturn will be moving to a position above the southern horizon as we go through this evening. Todd.
All right, we'll see you in a few minutes' time. We'll take a break. CTV News at 6 continues right after this.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Well, the number of students in Nova Scotia's public schools has leveled off or even declined this school year, except in Halifax and within the province's French language school board, where growth is putting pressure on aging schools. CTV's Jesse Thomas has more.
Student enrollment across most of Nova Scotia's public school regions has stabilized and in some areas even declined. But that's not the case for the Halifax region and the French language school board, which continues to see growth, challenging schools' capacity.
Since 2017, the HRCE has received 8 new schools in communities across HRM, with plans to open 11 more in the coming years.
HRCE has welcomed 11,000 new students, topping 60,000 overall. To keep up, they've also installed 157 modular classrooms and relied on 53 portables. Temporary fixes that Gallagher said hasn't impacted student learning. The province says the modulars are a stopgap while construction catches up.
The use of modulars has been intended to augment the square footage that we have to solve our immediate problem, while we build another 25 schools, really, with the ones that have opened already.
Since 2022, the province has boosted its construction and maintenance budgets to $30 million annually. That's up sharply from the $6 million budgeted under the previous Liberal government, and that's separate money from new school builds. 19 are in the works, with 13 of them in the Halifax region. Barbrick says tapered enrollment will relieve some pressure.
So that gives us a little bit of a breather to catch up.
The Francophone School Board, which serves students across the province, saw the fastest growth this year, up 3.2%. That number would be up, they said, if they had more schools.
As we move forward and keep recruiting doctors, nurses, teachers from other parts of Canada or other parts of the world, that these numbers will continue to increase.
While enrollment surged during the pandemic, Halifax growth is slowing. Just 500 new students this year across the Halifax region. That's well below the 1,600 new students that HRCE anticipated. They point to new federal immigration caps as the main reason. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
Still to come in your newscast tonight, a mix of sun and cloud Wednesday, but more rain on the schedule for Thursday. Kalen's got the details after this. Low clouds and low tide at the Bedford Basin this afternoon. Rather dark skies. It gave an indication of what the day was like pretty much everywhere, Kellen.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of cloud cover in the region today. It was a damp day, chilly temperatures as well, and the winds picked up as we went through the afternoon and now remain very much in the high and gusty side for a number of parts of the Maritimes this evening. More on that in a moment. Let's take a quick look, though, across the country as far as weather conditions go. There's also a wind warning out for the northern part of Vancouver Island. Also in the west right now, it's cold at Whitehorse and Yellowknife, both communities sitting below the freezing mark. Cool temperatures through the prairies. Moving off towards the east, it's a little bit milder in southern Ontario, with Toronto sitting at 11 degrees, Ottawa at 9 right now. And then the most intense storm system in North America at the moment, well, that's the one that's moving into the south coast of Newfoundland at this hour. So really bringing us some inclement weather conditions across a large part of Atlantic Canada, which takes us to our forecast timeline for cloud cover and precipitation. Now, we're still seeing some rain streaming across the Gulf of St. Lawrence and over the Northumberland Strait into eastern areas of Nova Scotia. It's going to be winding down as we make our way through this evening, with scattered showers in other parts of the Maritimes coming to an end. Talked about this earlier, expecting some partial clearing tonight, with the most clearing taking place in southern and western areas of New Brunswick, as well as the western half of mainland Nova Scotia. It is going to be a chilly night, though, and the winds are going to be gusty basically all night long and into tomorrow. Speaking of Wednesday, sunny start to the day for New Brunswick, most of mainland Nova Scotia, partly cloudy conditions into Prince Edward Island and Cape Breton. In the afternoon, we'll start to see some cloud cover increase from the west of us ahead of our next weather system, which will bring rain to Nova Scotia and PEI late Wednesday night into Thursday, and a mixture of showers and flurries to the province of New Brunswick. Now, for the winds, the strongest of the winds are most likely around eastern parts of PEI, the north shore of mainland Nova Scotia, and areas of Cape Breton, as well as coastal areas of the southwest Nova Scotia as we move through this evening and tonight. And some of those peak wind gusts could get up between 70 and 90 kilometers per hour. Now, the strongest of the wind gusts will be diminishing during the overnight hours, and Wednesday's winds will be out of the west and northwest, but with fairly widespread gusts, 30 to 50 around the Maritimes, so a blustery day, and some of the peak wind gusts close to 60 for parts of Cape Breton. Now, low temperatures in the forecast for tonight behind this weather system in that northwest wind. They do get chilly. Most lows for New Brunswick, 1 to 3 degrees tonight. Low to mid single digits for Prince Edward Island. Most of the lows for Nova Scotia between 3 and 6. Highs in the forecast for tomorrow for northern areas of New Brunswick between 7 and 10 degrees. And down through central and southern areas of New Brunswick, the high temperatures between 8 and 10. So it's going to be a cool day, especially with the gusty winds. For Prince Edward Island, high temperatures tomorrow for most communities will be around 7 to 9 degrees. Mix of sun and cloud. Northwest winds 30 gusts to 50 kilometers per hour. Highs of 7 7 to 9 for Cape Breton for tomorrow. Near 9 degrees for communities on the North Shore and eastern shore of mainland Nova Scotia. Cumberland, Colchester, Hants counties for tomorrow with high temperatures mostly between 7 and 9, close to 10 for Halifax, Chester, and Lunenburg. Continuing down the South Shore, highs near 10 as well for Liverpool and Shelburne, and then near 9 for Yarmouth. Also high temperatures near 9 degrees for the Annapolis Valley. Taking a look at our 7-day outlook for New Brunswick. Coming up on Thursday, cooler temperatures, mixture of showers and flurries. It's then chilly for Friday with a mix of sun and cloud, high temperatures in the low to mid single digits. Rain in the forecast for Saturday, a mix of sun and cloud for Sunday, rain possible at the start of next week. Remembrance Day right now, partly cloudy and cool. For Nova Scotia in the forecast, rain expected on Thursday. It'll be chilly on Friday. Rain in the forecast for the start of the weekend on Saturday. Sunday, a mix of sun and cloud with rain possible on Monday. And for Prince Edward Island, there's some rainy days ahead, including Thursday. It'll be chilly for Friday. Rain in the forecast for Saturday. Sunday, a mix of sun and cloud. Rain possible on Monday. Todd.
Always nice to avoid the rain on Remembrance Day. Yep. Thank you, Kel. We'll see you at the end of the show. Next, we'll look closer at what's being called a memorable budget. And we have this story in entertainment.
Hi, my name is Megan Smith, and my brand new book, It Snowed, is out today. And I'm going to tell you all about it.
Okay, so coming up Thursday at the radio station, we're going to be collecting socks for those in need in our community. And if you stop by and donate socks, you could win $1,000.
Let's join us tomorrow for your chance at a gas card. Good luck.
Welcome back. We want to take a deeper look at the federal budget and how it might affect Maritimers. And joining us is Patrick Sullivan, President and CEO of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. Good to see you. Good of you to come in.
Oh, thank you very much.
Because I think in the time that they dropped the budget and the time it would have taken you to get to studio was basically all the time you would have had to look at what's actually inside this thing. So
it was only 406 pages.
Only 406 pages. I know you haven't had a lot of time to digest this. None of us have. But your initial look at what you've seen come out of this, how do you think this will be received by your members in the Chamber of Commerce?
I think our members of the Chamber will be happy about this budget. Certainly the deficit is worrying, you know, up to $78 billion from $36 billion or so last year. So that's a significant increase. But we are seeing some investment and some allowances on the tax side for accelerated investment in manufacturing and those sorts of things. And, you know, warehouse improvements, factory improvements, those kinds of things that will allow people to write off their investment more quickly, which businesses will like.
So this looks like Mark Carney for a long time has been talking about pivoting the economy.
Yes.
And this seems to be a budget of vision. Not a lot here for, and you know, and you've talked about this in the past, about the mom and pop shops,
right,
the small businesses that are really, some of them are really at the brink right now. Not necessarily anything here that may make tomorrow look a little rosier.
The biggest thing, I think, for us in Nova Scotia and in Halifax particularly is the significant investment in defense. I mean, we're going to see huge dollars spent in defense, and Halifax and Nova Scotia have almost 40% of the defense assets that the military has. We've got 10% of the military population here. We've got families. You know, there's going to be a significant lift with over $80 billion in the military spent in the coming years, and then heading to a 5% of GDP, which will be over $100 billion a year. There's going to be a lot of investment. There's going to be more employment in the military. There's going to need to be more support. There's going to be more housing for the military. So for us in our little corner of the world, it's probably going to be, there's going to be some positives for sure.
Okay, do you see new industry growth? One of the things that's been bandied about is whether a condition will be placed on that submarine procurement, which would require the supplier, be it South Korean or German, to do at least some of the work in Canada.
Well, there will be significant maintenance contracts. I'm unsure of the number, but I know it's in the billions of dollars every year for the submarines once they're all purchased, and that will have to go somewhere. Obviously, we can make a pitch that it should be right here since we've got significant experience and a great dockyard and Irving shipyards and all those kinds of things. But, you know, I don't know where that's going to go at this point, but for sure there's investment coming there.
One of the things that the Liberals wanted to do, Mark Carney has been talking a lot about this, is boost productivity. There is something, I want to make sure I get the wording right, something, $110 billion super deduction. They want to attract $50 billion in private investment. Is that the way to go about it?
Yeah, so that's certainly one way. It will encourage companies to invest in their businesses. It'll encourage them to invest in the building. It'll encourage them to invest in manufacturing equipment that hopefully will improve productivity. Canada has been in a real productivity drag, if you will, the last 10 years. We haven't seen productivity improvements, and we need to see those productivity improvements to keep up with the rest of the world, but particularly the United States.
One thing that didn't get a lot of attention, but it is in there, the so-called Wind West project that Premier Tim Houston of Nova Scotia is extremely bullish on, is mentioned in there as a project that's going to need funding and one that Ottawa seems to like. How would that shake down in terms of work? And, you know, we always go back to jobs.
Well, I think there would be significant investment required. I was just reading the strategic plan, which is available for download, of Wind West today. But there's a significant opportunity for jobs, for offshore assets, for investment in the boats and the human resources that are going to be required to support those windmills. So there's lots of opportunity for growth there. I think, though, it's on kind of the second tier of projects. The first tier is some of the ports that have already been committed to, and some other projects that the government is looking to accelerate more quickly.
So when you talk to employers, companies, manufacturers in this region, what's their prognosis? How are they feeling about things?
Well, I think in this region we're actually doing pretty well. I mean, the unemployment rate in Nova Scotia is around 6.2%. In Toronto, it's 8.9% right now. That's staggering when you think about it, that Toronto has a significantly higher unemployment rate than Nova Scotia does. So we're actually doing okay in our area. We haven't been nearly as impacted as some companies have been in Ontario or in Quebec or in New Brunswick with softwood lumber. So, you know, we're doing a little bit better, but we can certainly use some of the investments that are required.
We're talking about how the budget is shaking down and affecting Atlantic Canadians and Maritimers in particular, and here's a good example, and it's more political than it is business related, but Chris d'Entremont, the MP for Annapolis-Acadie, out of the southwestern Nova Scotia, has been kicked out. We have confirmed, CTV News has confirmed, has been kicked out of the Conservative caucus. He had talked about potentially crossing the floor and joining Mark Carney in the Liberal Party. We will certainly stay on the top of that and find out what's behind it, and hope to hear from Mr. d'Entremont in the coming hours. Patrick Sullivan, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Todd. Appreciate it, and I'm sure there'll be lots of news reported in the budget in the next few hours and days.
Lots to talk about. We will take a break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. In the Lifeline tonight, the first clinical trial of pig kidney transplants begins. We get details from CTV's Amanda Debison.
A first clinical trial is looking into whether transplanting pig kidneys into people might really save lives. The study's first transplant was performed successfully in New York, but researchers won't say when the surgery happened to protect the subject's identity. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration is allowing the rigorous studies after a series of so-called compassionate use experiments with mixed results. The first 2 gene-edited pig kidney transplants were short-lived, with both patients having to return to dialysis within a year.
Here's a nice big one.
A new eye test developed by Canadian researchers is leading to earlier detection and treatment of vision problems in younger patients.
We're using a test called the WATDAT, which is a test where the child has to point to the odd one out of 4 images. We start large and we gradually get smaller, so that this is equivalent to the letter test that an adult would be asked to read when they're at the optometrist.
The test, developed by researchers at the University of Waterloo, allows for more precision with children ages 18 to 36 months, since they understand shapes and faces more easily. Optometrists in this country, the US, and the UK are testing the technique and report children seem to enjoy it more because the test feels like a game. The testing phase is nearing its end, and then they hope to commercialize it. Finally, if you love music and listen often, you may be doing yourself more of a favor than you know. Australian researchers conducted a study recently and found that people who listen to music regularly have lower rates of cognitive decline. The researchers looked at more than 10,000 adults and found that those who listened to music daily had a 39% reduced risk of dementia. Playing a musical instrument was also associated with a lower risk of dementia compared to those who rarely listen to or play music. With Health and Medical News, I'm Amanda Debison for the Lifeline.
We're on the scene, and Katie's on assignment tonight, but she left this. Halifax-based musician Megan Smith is bringing a holiday hit to life in a whole new way. As Katie shows us, It Snowed is now a cozy new children's book.
It snowed, it snowed, it snowed last night.
For over a decade, Megan Smith's It Snowed has been a holiday favorite.
It has just grown and grown every year. It gets more and more popular, and more people tell me it's part of our Christmas tradition.
Now, the Juno Award winner has turned the beloved song into a children's book.
And so I thought, you know, like, what better way to celebrate the season and snow than to write a book, write a cozy book that you can read with your kids after you've played in the snow for a really long time.
Get your hat and coat and bundle up real tight.
The story follows the lyrics of the song. A child's perfect snow day from start to finish.
So you wake up and you see that it snowed and everything is canceled, there's no school, and you put your snowsuit on over your pajamas because you don't have to get dressed, and you go outside and you make snow angels and you go sledding and you play with your friends, and then when you come in you get cozy with hot chocolate by the fire, and then you wish for another snow day.
Megan also created every illustration herself, drawn by hand using colored pencils.
I wanted the book to look very fluffy, like snow, like the consistency of snow with this, like, snow can be like so many things. It can be hard and cold, but it can also be fluffy and super sparkly, which is why I am wearing this sparkly dress today. It's the most sparkly I could find.
You look like a snow angel.
And so I really wanted the pictures to give you that feeling of like light, airy fluffiness, but also warmth, because it's not just, the snow isn't just cold, it can also be very warm, and it also, the whole season can be so warm and cozy.
Smith is still busy writing music too, with a new album on the way, and has festive shows planned for December 19th and 20th at the Bella Rose Arts Center.
I have gone all out this year for this. This show is going to be miraculous. It's going to be so fun. There's going to be cookie decorating. I have special musical guests. And I've even been speaking with Santa to see if he can stop by.
And of course, celebrating her brand new storybook out today.
I hope that people see how wonderful the cold and the snow can be. There's just endless things you can do with snow. And I hope that everybody goes and plays in the snow and then goes somewhere warm and reads my book.
With Aaron and Peter.
What is it that you have no patience for? Facebook Marketplace, tomorrow at 7.
And no patience required when you're on a $10,000 shopping spree. Move it or lose it tomorrow.
I want to return to some news that we talked about during the interview a few minutes ago. Nova Scotia Member of Parliament Chris d'Entremont, who represents the riding of Acadie-Annapolis, has resigned from the Conservative Party of Canada National Caucus. No word yet on the reason, but he's been removed from the Conservative Party's website. We've reached out to Chris d'Entremont, and he has confirmed to CTV News that he has resigned from the Conservative Party. Again, he represented Acadianapolis, previously known as West Nova in the House of Commons. He's been there since 2019. All right, a local business story before we get to our market report. A historic Moncton property is on the market again. It sat vacant for a long time before being bought a few years ago, and now it's available again for anyone who wants to set up shop in the downtown core. CTV's Derek Haggett has details.
It's well over 100 years old, but the Flatiron building in downtown Moncton looks bright and brand new. The historic Main Street property is currently up for sale after the last tenant moved out about a month ago.
Could be a small business that's looking to get great visibility just starting out. Could be a small office space coming in. It's bright, it's open, it's inviting.
Built in 1917, the two-story commercial building has been home to a variety of different businesses over the years. It's located right next to a railway pass that gave passengers their first view of the city's downtown when they arrived by train.
It's a historical, iconic building in Moncton. I remember walking down this street when I was young, actually, and it's funny that now I have it for sale.
Located right next door is the subway block building, also built in 1917 and also a historic property. The three-story brick building has sat empty for years, and the main floor window fronts are boarded up. Gervais isn't working with the owner, but says there's not much going on inside.
No work right now. It definitely needs a lot of work, a lot of planning.
An organization that represents downtown commercial property owners says they are not involved with the subway block. However, its executive director tells CTV News the building is an important part of the city's streetscape and would be missed. The subway block is not listed publicly, but the Flatiron building is. In case you were wondering, the property is listed at $599,000, and Gervais says there's already been a little bit of interest. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
All right, turning to the markets, the Dow had a rough day, down 251 points. In fact, it was a tough day for all North American markets as companies reported earnings, some that failed to meet investors' high expectations. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez now.
Shopify reported big gains in revenue and profit for its third quarter. Revenue came in at $2.8 billion U.S., which is a 32% increase from the same period last year. Gross profit was up 24%. Still, shares were down close to 7% by the end of the trading day. Shopify, of course, is a massive e-commerce company run out of Ottawa. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to $70.94. West Texas Intermediate crude is down 49 cents to $60.56. Western Canadian Select is up to $49.51. And the TSX sank almost 500 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Kellen Mitchell's on the weather deck with one more look at the forecast.
Yeah, it's chilly and gusty out here. I brought the umbrella out just in case there was the odd shower moving through, but they seem to have mostly wrapped up here in the north end of Halifax. Actually seeing the moon through breaks of the cloud cover at the moment. Let's take a look at our viewer picture for tonight and before the winds really picked up, and this was past evening. I got this great picture from Connie Baird. It was sent in from Truro, Nova Scotia, and the pond water is so still here. They're reflecting all the trees and the lights surrounding it. Thank you so much for that, Connie. Truro for tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud. It is going to be a blustery day with winds out of the west, gusts 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. That'll be region-wide, and a high temperature near 9 degrees. Day planner for tomorrow, chilly start, especially with those gusty winds. Most early morning temperatures in the range of around 1 to 5 degrees, and then moving into the afternoon, cloud cover increasing from the west of the Maritimes. A lot of high temperatures tomorrow, up between 7 and 9 degrees, and of course that cloud is ahead of the next round of rain arriving later Wednesday night. Let's find out what's coming up on Your Morning Atlantic.
Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic, controlling menopause symptoms with diet.
Registered dietitian and podcaster Jen Huber dives into the kitchen pantry to help you manage this phase of life.
Start your morning with us Wednesday on Your Morning Atlantic.
Finally tonight, you can call him Sir Bex. David Beckham, the soccer star, was knighted today by King Charles III for his contributions to sport and charity. The former England captain received the honor at Windsor Castle. Beckham's knighthood caps a career highlighted by World Cup appearances, major titles with Manchester United, and decades of good work. Beckham called the knighthood without a doubt his proudest moment, and yes, that means you can call his wife Lady Posh Spice now. That is a look at our day here at home. Bruce Frisco is here in this chair at 11:30 with your late newscast. CTVNewsAtlantic.ca has updates, extensive reporting on the budget and the poll. I'm Todd Battis. Thanks for watching. We hope to see you right back here tomorrow night at 6. Till then, have a good night.
CTV News, the Maritimes' #1 newscast.